Do cops lie in court? And what are Brady cops? So the first question, do cops lie in court? Yeah. And they lie all the time. In fact, cops lie so often that there's a phrase for it called test of lying. That basically, if a cop is in court testifying, chances are he's lying, especially when it is a victimless so-called crime, be it traffic, taxes, prostitution, something like that. There is a victim in prostitution, but it's not the state. They don't give a damn about the victim there. But I appreciate everyone tuning in and those watching after the live stream. But it is live every Monday from 7 Arizona time to when I get the warning that the camera is going to die. So I spoke last week about Brady disclosure, and you can't talk about Brady disclosure, at least in my opinion, you can't. Any discussion about Brady disclosure, Brady material, will lead you to Brady cops. But I did want to address some of the questions that were raised in the comments of that video. One of the comments was, is Brady disclosure the same as disclosure? Well, Brady disclosure is an aspect of disclosure. So you've got other things in disclosure. It's not just Brady material, because typical disclosure is evidence that shows guilt that the prosecution has gathered and is planning on using against me or you in a trial. The distinction with Brady disclosure is it is not evidence that shows that you're guilty. It is evidence that shows that you are innocent. It's exculpatory or impeaching information. So that's the difference. So disclosure is the broad term, which includes inculpatory or evidence that shows you guilty and exculpatory. So it's all of that. Another question that somebody raised in there, I probably could just go to my channel, but you know what? I can remember. Somebody asked if Brady disclosure was both civil and criminal, and it is not. Brady disclosure is only for criminal prosecution. I would imagine that it goes under a different name when it is civil. So that's my understanding of that. So if there is evidence showing that you did not commit the tort, and they have that, then that should be disclosed. But it's not going to be called Brady disclosure or Brady material there. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to further expand on this, in addition to the fact that I want police perjury, I want the question of do cops lie in court, I want that to come up so people have the answer. And it's absolutely yes. There is no question. Anybody familiar with the court system, to at least when the criminal court or traffic court, anyone familiar there has got to know that if a police officer is on the stand, especially in a traffic situation, they are going to lie. If you have a situation, especially we've seen so often with drugs. For example, police officers, thanks to to cell phones and body cams, dash cams, have been caught on their own body cams, planting drugs, and then lying to set the perp up. Someone totally innocent. So especially when we're looking at the drug arena, they are absolutely lying. And I want the phrase searchable. I want that if people hear the phrase Brady cop and they're not familiar with that, I want that to be searchable. And I just had an experience that today, it started last night, and it doesn't involve a current cop, but a former cop that is now acting as doing estimates for contractors. And it goes to show that even off the job, cops, former or otherwise, have a real problem with being honest. What is the phrase? All cops are bastards? Because, like we've seen here, this is going to be the thumbnail, actually. Don't worry, we investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong. I do like this one. I do like this one a lot. This is good. This is good. There's some good. Oh, of course, you can't go wrong with Goodfellas. So yeah, they would be laughing there. So what happened was this former cop doing an estimate on a reconstruction job initially missed 11 square feet in the estimate. So now it bumps it up $1,000. It's bad. How do you lose? How do you not include? I mean, it's just bad work. Let's not say we can assume for now. We'll let it go. It's not necessarily dishonest. But then I get this information last night. And now they're saying that half the job, something that is half of the reconstruction, half, they didn't include it. So thousands more the insurance company's on the hook for. Thousands. And to cover, they blamed the worker, the actual contractor, the one who's actually doing the work. They blame him for something the former cop did 3 weeks ago. And this guy hasn't even been involved at all until last Friday. Not even involved in that. Throws the guy under the bus. Just lies. It's the ease in which the lie comes. I mean, aside from the fact that you're thinking, well, what else is this guy going to conveniently forget that's going to be thousands of dollars more? It's the ease in which they lie. And you cannot be shocked if you go into court, especially if it's traffic or drugs. The ease in which the cop will lie because he knows nothing's going to happen. Very few times are the cops held accountable. Why? We investigated ourselves and found we did nothing wrong. This is real. This is a problem. Which is, again, why I sing the praises of Larry Krasner, the DA in Philadelphia. Because he takes that stuff serious. He doesn't care who committed the crime. Whether it's a cop, former cop, doesn't matter. If the facts show that they committed a crime, prosecute. So, I just went through it with the company, and I said, it's not this, it's not that, it's not the insurance, it's not me. And I didn't use it. I said the former cop's name. I didn't have to bring out he was a former cop. It wasn't necessary for that situation. But just know, cops lie, and then they'll lie to cover up the lie. And then they'll have their friends in the prosecutor's office, like the one Larry Krasner replaced, and how 31 of them, of the career prosecutors in the office, were either fired or resigned. But they generally have lawyers who are supporting them. And those lawyers work as prosecutors. And then the former prosecutors that have that stupid robe on, the judges. Because just like I mentioned last week, you have prosecutorial misconduct with Stephen Myrie. The judge threw the case out and said it was flagrant prosecutorial misconduct, but didn't put Stephen Myrie and his team in jail. See, if they're really interested, see, two-tier justice system, right? Stephen Myrie. And where is anyone going to say, why are you obsessed? Why are you obsessed with Stephen Myrie? You've done all these videos and you've mentioned his name like 2,000 times. Why are you obsessed with Stephen Myrie? Stephen Myrie's name should live in infamy. He had no repercussions. So when you have these police officers that are caught lying on the stand, and they're called Brady cops. Brady cops. There's actually a phrase called Brady cops. I'll have to look this up. I should have had this already done, but to actually have, like in Arizona, lists of Brady cops. I need a Brady list. I hope everybody can see that. So you have lists of them. This is not operational yet, but it's going to be great when they do. There's a measure to let dishonest cops appeal placement on a Brady list. I guess due process requires that. You know, even the police, even though all cops are bastards, even though most of them lie through their teeth, due process has to be extended to them. Being Brady listed could be career ending. Now imagine that. The problem with police officers lying on the stand is so bad that government instituted years ago Brady lists. Brady lists. Police1.com. What's at stake? Generally, police1.com. Generally, the decision about whether an officer gets Brady listed is entirely up to the prosecutor. Well, the prosecutor, I guess, because the prosecutor is the one that's going to be calling them. And there are some honest prosecutors out there, Larry Krasner, that need to know this information. I think it would be easier just to have the judges do the right thing and put them in jail. That you would think that would hurt their career, doing time, and why they're doing time. Contempt of court, avoid the trial. It's right there in the trial. Contempt of court, put them in jail for 6 months. I have worked with people and they've called a show asking a question has got them thrown in jail. And you can go through the archives of my channel. You can look that up. Prosecutors may delegate part of that decision making by enlisting the office's department to help a Brady list for prosecutorial review, but they need not. There are no formal, nationally agreed upon guidelines for what conduct will result in an officer being Brady listed or to what standard the conduct must be proven, if at all, versus a mere allegation or complaint. Indeed, in U.S. versus Olson, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals held that Brady disclosure requirements apply to ongoing investigations of officers. There are also no formal required appeal process for officers. Well, again, due process, they probably should be able to dispute that. I hate I hate to do that, but you got to be fair. Some prosecutors' offices have set up Brady policies, including mechanisms for officers to challenge being listed, but establishing and abiding by such policies is voluntary. Moreover, interpretation and application of the policies can differ. In cases around the country, officers have alleged prosecutors Brady listed them for criticizing the district attorney in the news. Yeah, they should be able to prove that. Supporting the wrong candidate. Yeah. Witch hunt. Fake news. Investigating corruption within the prosecutor's staff. That's interesting, if true. Because remember, the ones protecting these Brady cops are the prosecutors. First and foremost is the prosecutors. Well, it's probably, no, I got to say first and foremost is the judges, the former prosecutors. But second in line is the prosecutors. Providing truthful but unhelpful, complaining to prosecution, complaining to city officials about corruption in the police department. Now that might be true. That might be true. That might actually be true. So, Brady cops. So, police perjury. Remember, this is very, very real. Anybody who has, if you've come to this video and you're new and you're looking about courts and what to expect if you're going to court, you got to know police perjury is a very, very real thing. Even though I'm using Wikipedia because, you know, it's all footnoted. All the sources are there. And that's one of the things before I forget. And it's not just me saying this. A lot of people have gone on record, especially in the last 10 years, because of cell phones and HD cameras and cell phones. If you have footage, and this has happened so many times, if you have footage of a police officer engaging in misconduct, don't release the video until after they give the official statement, because 99% of the time, well, let's say 90% of the time, it will conflict with the video. I mean, this is pretty well-known stuff. Police perjury is the act of a police officer knowingly giving false testimony. It is typically used in a criminal trial to make the case against the defendants believed by the police to be guilty when irregularities during the suspect's arrests. Yeah. Or the irregularity in the arrest is that the brown person, the poor person, didn't actually have any drugs or that they did anything wrong. So the irregularity, that's the irregularity, so you got to plant it on them. Procedural statements to justify a search and seizure. Like they say they smell marijuana. More genetically, it has been said, lying under oath, especially by a police officer, to help get a conviction. So it is a very, very real thing. Police do lie. I think I mentioned part of this last week. The test of lying is here. A police officer's reputation and trustworthiness is an important asset to their effectiveness. Well, I don't. I can't say that's not that is a true statement. It's just, it's funny because who really sees police officers and prosecutors as trustworthy? And it's absolutely more so when it comes to taxes, traffic, and drugs. Absolutely more so. Because that's usually the accusation, especially with drugs, when they're taking large amounts of cash. Stealing large amounts of cash from people who have done nothing wrong, under the guise that they must be drug dealers. Not a shred of evidence that they're drug dealers, but you steal the money anyway. So, police who have been caught lying to the court make poor witnesses. It depends on the prosecutor. Police who have been caught lying to the court make poor witnesses, and previous convictions rely on their testimony can be vacated if their misconduct is pervasive. Well, we know that Larry Krasner got 9 people exonerated. And I'm pretty certain it wasn't just prosecutorial misconduct. I believe, it's because the prosecutorial misconduct more likely included test the lying and not disclosing Brady material that showed that they were innocent. This can result in terminations, and such terminations have been judicially enforced. About a perjured affidavit supporting a raid that killed 2 police officers, Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo said, "That's totally unacceptable. I've told my police department that if you lie, you die. When you lie on an affidavit, that's not sloppy police work. That's a crime." I wonder how many of them were actually prosecuted for it, though. Some suggest that narrowing or blunting the exclusionary rule may get rid of the incentive for police to lie to the court. That has happened to the extent that the U.S. Supreme Court has recognized exceptions like the good faith exception. Lying is not in good faith. Some argue that increased civil liability may have a prophylactic effect on police misconduct. Others suggest that the ubiquity of video recordings, both by the police and by civilians, will operate to slow down the misconduct and reverse the trend. How is that working out for you? It hasn't. Because we've seen it hasn't slowed it down. It gets reported all the time. So, not working out too well. What they need to do, maybe some places have done it, I can't remember off the top of my head. They should always have to have the body cam on, and not having the body cam on should be immediate termination. I mean, it's destruction of evidence. That's a crime. Deliberately destroying evidence in a criminal case is a crime. Spoliation. I did a whole video about that. I don't know what, like 8 people watched. So, to answer the question, do police lie in court? Absolutely. What are Brady cops? It's cops that have been caught lying in court and have done so repeatedly and maybe cost the prosecutor a win. Maybe even a good prosecutor who was actually prosecuting somebody who was guilty and had to watch them walk away because the cop lied. So, yeah, if you're new to the court system, Brady cops, Brady material, very, very important. So what I'm going to do is go to the comments and see what we got comment-wise here today. We'll have to, let's see. We'll use this one. Oh. There we go. I will turn this part off. I will go to your comments if we have any. In the last few minutes, I can do the aloha. Get rid of qualified immunity and things will change fast. Yes, I probably should have mentioned that. The cops should have their own insurance or bond like they used to. And they do have insurance. Sure, there is insurance, but they should have to carry their own bond. Yeah, the qualified immunity is bad. There's no Froggy 1337 that good on you for that. If officers were this is my dog Rex. If officers were reasonably Brady listed, it would trickle down to attorneys being Brady listed, trickling down to judges. Well, it should get them off the force. That's the thing. I mean, if you got a cop that's Brady listed and the evidence is pretty clear cut, you know, they're lying in court, there's transcripts. They shouldn't be cops anymore. It shouldn't be a matter of the prosecutor, well, I've got to go through the Brady list and see if this police officer, if I can rely. There shouldn't be any question. Anybody on the Brady list should not be called as a witness unless it's in a civil suit for the victims to be made whole. Other than that, they shouldn't be on the police force anymore so that they could potentially be a witness in more cases. Christopher Real, you know a cop is lying if his lips are moving. Well, that goes for pretty much every politician and of course the king's men. Yes. Can police legally lie to the public? Yes, they're allowed to lie to the public. But I'm talking here specifically about perjury. They are allowed to lie to get confessions, at least in most jurisdictions. Yes, the courts have allowed them to lie to get confessions. They are not, at least the law as it sits now, the law does not allow cops or anyone to lie without subjecting themselves, to perjury. It's a crime. It's a felony. It's a felony most of the time, I would imagine. So that's the distinction. If they're out on the street and they're doing an investigation and they have a suspect that they're trying to get a confession from, they can lie through their teeth. I think it's particularly nasty when they bring children in and they lie to children, and and some courts have thrown out confessions because it crossed the line into mental distress. Froggy, I think you're talking about the body cam. 100% agree. Have to turn it on and can't turn it off or mute it. They do that. Yes, they do it, and they claim, well, it didn't work. I will have to throw this out because I mentioned I started the show about how hot it is here in Arizona. I know Disturbed last week had to cancel. What are you setting an outdoor concert for right now in Phoenix? So because the equipment wasn't operating right. It is so hot here in the valley the last 27 days, over 110. It's 729 right now. And I don't have a phone with me, but I guarantee you, I guess I could look it up. I guarantee you it's over 107 degrees still right now. And I can tell you that, and I'm not making a defense for well, I guess I am. I will say that when it's 117 degrees outside, that could affect a body cam. And that would really suck because if it did happen that the cop just turned it off, he now has a plausible argument or a colorable argument about that. And I know this from personal experience, not from a body cam or a dash cam. Well, dash cam really wouldn't be affected so much. But I know that this camera, it was so hot last Friday in Tempe. It was almost 110 degrees, and this camera malfunctioned to a point where I can't use the video. And iPhone. An iPhone, when it's above 110, especially 110, once it gets above 105 degrees, your iPhone will slow down considerably. And if you're taking what you think is video, chances no. I was with my phone. I was getting a selfie video with there was some animals, and I thought I got this video. It was only about a minute long. No, didn't get it. And I have had it where I thought I was getting video. I mean, nothing showed up, and then I did have where the video was on the phone, but I couldn't get it off the phone. So there was a fatal error. So something happened because it was just, so anyway, that my point is, the heat, extreme heat may affect a body cam. The only way to solve this would be never to take the word of a cop only. There would have to be corroborating evidence. I gotta say, I think that's a very good position, Zoo Brooks. Yeah, I the only thing is there's going to be circumstances where somebody is in the process of being raped, and it's the cop just happens to be there, or the cop is the only one that shows up. So, I don't think you can have a blanket thing like that, because there are going to be those situations where the cop is the first responder and is witnessing a crime, and he's by himself. So not really feasible. I get it, though. I do. I really do. Mark, is case law and precedent stare decisis? Yes. On that particular point, yeah, that's right. It's got to be one of those decisions where it's reasoned, and they, I can't make that assumption. I think that the reasons, and there has to be the dictum to support that. But generally speaking, yes, case law and precedent, precedent is considered stare decisis. It's been decided already. Res judicata is not the same as stare decisis. Res judicata is the thing has been decided, and if there's been a fair trial on the merits, then it's considered res judicata. It's already been decided. You can't litigate it again unless you can show it was not fair. Then you cannot litigate it again. It's been decided. What happened to innocent until proven guilty? Steve Christopherson is asking. And would rather see guilty people go free instead of any innocent people in jail. Well, that's a whole other thing about innocent people in jail. So the legal principle is, and they're supposed to hold it out, the judge and the jury, not the prosecutor, of course, but the judge and the jury, they have to give a presumption of innocence. The corroborating evidence would be the victim's testimony. The victim may not actually be able to testify. The victim could be incapacitated. It depends on the situation. So the victim may not be able to. The victim may be special needs and not able to testify at all, meaningfully. Terrible thought. I have a special needs daughter. I would hate that she would ever have to be a witness to anything horrible. So yeah, Zoo Brooks, AB. You can't always rely on the victim because they may not be able to testify. And there are other reasons. A victim may be so traumatized that they just physically, they psychologically, they just can't testify. Isn't the victim the city/state sometimes? Yeah. Well, that's different. That's different. That's totally different. So I'm getting the indication that my stream is going to come to an end soon, but I think we covered some pretty good ground there, and great content there. The comments, so some really good comments. I do appreciate that. I am gonna have to. Wow, that was really low tonight. Anyway, do cops lie in court? Man, all the damn time. It's called test the lying. And I should put in the description the links for the Wikipedia, but it's easy enough to look. I'll have to do that. If you want to help support the channel so that I can do more streams more consistently, you can do so in the description. I'm going to need that if I'm going to be able to continue doing the stream. If not, I'll just, like I mentioned, I will just go back to doing recorded videos, 1 or 2 a week, and do that instead of being locked into 7 o'clock on Monday and Wednesday. So, yeah, you can use the links in the description. You help support the channel. I do appreciate that. I will be back on Monday at the same time, and maybe it will be less than 105 degrees here in Phoenix. So I will let you know then. So till then, salud.